and true, and I know that it's meant to be shared with you guys. This week, I think, has reminded us that change always happens. The things that we think are the most steadfast are always changing. The Constitution changed this week. There's a couple 100-year-old tree over there that changed today. And you guys changed your marital status, but a couple hours ago, maybe less. But the coolest thing, what I wanted to remind you of, and what I want to ultimately toast for you, is that you founded a promise today on something that's unchanging. And it's hard for us even to understand or imagine that fully. But it's an unchanging covenant. The Lord is unchanging, unwavering, and you can always return to Him because He is always restoring and reclaiming and renewing this world for His glory. So I cheers to an unchanging God who's restoring, and that what He'll do in the restoration and renewal through you guys. Here.
All right, how about a nice big round of applause? He's going to pass the mic over to bridesmaid Rachel. Give her a round of applause.
Hi. Wow, that's really loud. I'm Rachel. I lived with Hannah for 2 years, and we've been best friends at Princeton for 3 years. And it was literally just like the dream situation living together. We would have dance parties, and we had an aversion to clothes sometimes, and we drank wine, and it was just, we had so much fun together. And I'm just so thankful that God created her and that He put her in my life. And my favorite thing about Hannah is her ability to just enjoy life and be passionate and love and feel things. And she's just really taught me how to enjoy the really strong feelings, like the love that you feel that just literally makes you break down and cry. And just like being in our room together our last day and just crying for 2 hours together, just saying goodbye. And I would be the person to like not actually acknowledge that and just, be like, okay, see you later. But Hannah really made me like sit down and just enjoy that time together and appreciate each other. And she's someone who just deserves somebody who can keep up with her ability to love people. And I really do think she's found that in Steven. And you wouldn't expect it when you first meet Steven because he's like really stoic and kind of most of the time doesn't show much emotion. And even though I've traveled to like many different countries with him and known him for 4 years, I actually still can't tell if I'm annoying him or if he thinks I'm funny. So you wouldn't think that he's this guy that can keep up with her, but he really is. I've just gotten to see that from the very beginning. And when he got to know her, he would literally drive 11 hours just to see her. And he would go to these ridiculous college girl parties, and he would sleep on a 3-foot couch in a random common room in our college, and would do that for like a week straight. He just really loves her and will do anything. And you would also think that two really strong personalities that are really smart and really good arguers, and they really know when they're right, would fight a lot, and they actually do. But they also just, when they do fight, their goal's not to be right, it's to reconcile, and it's to make that relationship work. And I've just seen them do it over and over again to just really try to understand what the other person's feeling and what they're thinking and how to just solve it and say sorry and forgive each other. So I just know that it's going to work. And they just have this faith in God that's unwavering, and this belief in marriage and the sanctity of marriage. And they're so determined in everything they do that I know when they set this goal that we're going to stay married, that they're going to stay married and they're going to do an amazing, amazing job at it. So yeah, to Hannah and Stephen, we're just honestly so lucky that they're married because their goal is to serve God and to serve people. And with them being such strong personalities, sharpening each other, and they're going to push each other to be the best they can be. And honestly, I just think it's a gift to this world that they're married and that we know them and that we get to see what they do. So to Hannah and Stephen, I love them so much.
All right.
I give you this too.
How about a nice big round of applause? We're going to hand it over to Hannah's brother, James. So give him a nice big round of applause as he takes the mic.
All right. The first time I met Stephen, I was just a kid. My parents were visiting his parents in England, and his mom told him to go get something from his room for the kid visiting from Africa. So he grudgingly went back there and got a baseball glove. That was my first baseball glove, my only baseball glove. They don't play much baseball where I grew up, but it was nice of him, and you know, who knew that he'd be my brother-in-law one day? So it was fortunate for him that he did that. You know, putting some points in back then. I remember in the summer of 2011, Hannah and I were doing an intensive Arabic program here in Oakland, and Stephen was coming down from Idaho to get his motorcycle license. And Hannah asked me if Stephen could sleep on the floor of my room. So we hung out a little, talked about hiking up Half Dome. And then in the week that followed, he kept paying more and more attention to my sister. I remember her coming to me about it late at night a few times after going out with him and talking it over with her, how it was going, giving her some advice. And I was a little cautious at first because it was her first relationship like that. But I could already see how happy he was making her. And I knew he was serious when he came with a very thin excuse to come all the way down from Idaho to Oakland, and then spent the whole time with Hannah. I think he was visiting Tommy, but he didn't really spend much time with Tommy. He was really with Hannah instead. So let it go. Since then, I've enjoyed his friendship, from fishing together in the Black Forest to playing rugby together. Hannah and I have enjoyed a lot of adventures together, but I know that the two of you will enjoy a lot more adventures together. Let's see what I got here. And I know that she's in good hands with you, Stephen, that you'll take good care of her while you're traveling around having adventures together. And I know that Hannah will take good care of you too. Hannah and I have always been very, very close. We didn't have a lot of friends at all growing up, and so we were always really close to each other. We were always each other's closest friends. But having seen how happy Stephen makes Hannah, how good he is to her and for her, I can't imagine a better man to take my place as Hannah's closest friend. And I wish the two of you a blessed marriage and a very full and happy life together.
All right, have a nice big round of applause. We're going to pass the mic over to Austin. Where's Austin at? Here he is. How about a nice big round of applause for Austin? Cheer him on.
Hi, my name's Austin. To the Princeton folk, it was great to hear the fight song. Never heard the fight song of the Stanford of the East, so appreciate So quickly, I want to throw a few thank yous out there. The Cummings family, the Browns family, the bridesmaids, my wonderful wife, my mother-in-law. There was a lot of work that went into this to put this on, and it's been. I saw the girls yesterday, and they were tired. So it's amazing. It turned out great. So thank you for all that work. Round of applause. So to give you a little background, Stephen actually married Bess and I about 1.5 years ago. So you should keep that in mind. I lived with Stephen within one wall, 2 walls, sometimes no walls, for about 4 years. So I feel like I'm in a position to give some of the best advice of living with Stephen now. Here's a few stories, few lessons I'll give you. First, you're going to have to teach your husband a little bit about technology. Let's be serious. Either he doesn't care or he's too frugal. We're not sure. But he was literally the only person in the Bay Area to own an iPhone with no data plan. I knew things were getting serious when Hannah convinced him to get a data plan so they could Skype back and forth. And I no longer had to order Ubers for Brownie to come see me. 2, sometimes your husband is going to make some impulsive decisions. I think most of us know that. Well, I was living I guess this was our senior year, with Stephen and Joey, and Brownie calls us up. He goes, "I got a surprise, guys. Best idea ever." Everybody knows this could go one way or the other. Sure enough, he showed up with a bird cage and 3 parakeets. When asked why, he said, "I was driving down the highway and I saw a sign that said free parakeets." So after a week of sleepless nights and endless chirping, Joey and I convinced him that he had to take those things back. And surprisingly, the owner said, "Happens all the time." But remember, Hannah, in this day and age, there's pretty much free returns everywhere. So 3, on a little more serious note. Brownie is always going to follow his heart, and he's going to listen and follow God's plan. Most of you know that Brownie's in med school now, but some of you may not know why he's there. And you may not know the story. This was first year after college. It was me and a few other guys who were living in a house in Menlo Park, and Stephen was doing consulting. And we'd come home, and you could just see the life being sucked out of him. And we would spend many, many late nights brainstorming about, the meaning of life, where this life was headed, what we were going to do. And Stephen occasionally would say, "You know what, I kind of want to go to med school." For those of you who don't know me, I'm a pretty positive guy. These guys laugh. I tend to be in the clouds sometimes. And I was like, "Brownie, you're an econ major. No offense, but this ship may have sailed." And you know what? Sure enough, a couple days later, he comes home and he goes, "That's it. I'm done. I'm going to med school." I said, "What happened?" He goes, "I was at McDonald's." That's not a good start to med school. So he goes, I bought a homeless man breakfast. And he said, and I was like, "Okay." He goes, "You know what he told me?" Without any prompting, he said, "You should be a doctor." So that ought to be the craziest story I've ever heard, but you know what, Brownie? You follow your heart. Several years later, many, many countries, and this journey's brought him to Hannah. So I'd say he did a heck of a job following God's plan. Thanks for not listening to me. So I want to return the favor of something he did at our wedding. If you can, I'd like you guys to stand up, if you don't mind. I'd like you to take a look around and look at all these people. They're going to be here for you. Take it in. No matter what happens, we'll always be here to help. You said in our wedding that you're no holy man, and you're not particularly wise. But I'd argue that about 150 people here that would disagree with that. So cheers to Hannah and Brownie. We love you guys.
All right, give a nice big round of applause. We're going to pass the mic over to the mother and the father of the bride, so give them a nice big round of applause at this time. Cheer, Mom.
Well, before I start, let me just thank everyone for coming to celebrate with us. It's a wonderful day. And thank you for those who really worked hard to put this wonderful event together. It's just amazing how people have come together and really sacrificed time and energy and expense to come and really just be a blessing to Hannah and Stephen, and we thank you for that. So thank you very much. And I was asked to give a blessing, and Joseph and I worked on it together. So we are going to, I'm going to read it, but we have this blessing for them together. Hannah and Stephen, we bless you to remember that God loves you more than you could love or ever will love one another. May your love for one another flow from God's love for you. Hannah and Stephen, we bless you to remember Jesus' example of humility, sacrificial love, and forgiveness. May you have the grace when you're called to sacrifice and humble yourself and forgive, to do so because you remember Jesus' example. Hannah and Stephen, we bless you to remember the golden rule of compassion and consideration, that you might do unto your spouse what you would have your spouse do unto you. May you have the grace, turn the page, to put yourself in your beloved one's shoes and to see them with the same eyes of love and compassion with which God sees us. And finally, a fourth point to remember. Stephen and Hannah, we bless you to remember that Jesus intercedes for us. May you have grace to pray for one another and with one another every day. We bless you in these important remembrances: God's love, Jesus' example, the golden rule, and prayer, that your love may grow more and more with each day and each passing year. Cheers to Hannah and Stephen, that they may remember these important remembrances.
This is California Mom and Dad, Bill Slade. I know, my bad.
First step.
I'm 0 for 1.
That's one.
You okay?
Well, this is I'm Jeff and Lynn Brown, and we had the honor and the privilege of having Stephen stay with us during his high school years while he was doing baseball. We were sort of Team Stephen stateside. Then he went off to college, and he would return once in a while. We were his pit stop. And I think one time out of maybe 20, he showed up by himself. The rest of the time, he would have a gaggle of teammates, and I got to know him all that way. And each time, Lynn would look at me and say, "We need more meat." We're talking empty, hollow legs here, and so we'd be scrambling for food, and she would do a great job. And she'd be sweating in the kitchen while I was talking and getting to know all these people. So it was really great for me to get to know Austin and Tommy and everybody else that came. Anyway, while he was in high school, I want to just mention something that many of you may know Stephen about. And Stephen has this system whenever he's in academics. He tries to figure out what the number is that will give him an A. Okay? And let's say it's 260. And he would never ever want 261. Okay? It's got to be just right on the number, and he works really hard at getting that number. If he works hard at that, then it would be the set. This is a little bit of a warning for you, Hannah, because all of us who are married know about honeydew lists. And I think what you're going to be in for is a lot of negotiations. And the negotiations may take longer than the actual task themselves. But there was one item that he didn't do that on, and that was going after you. And he went all out. And as we've gotten to know you, we can understand why. your kindness, your intelligence, and just such a beautiful person, and we've just been so excited to get to know you. And what I would like to do is just welcome you into our family, and please think of us as your family on the West Coast. Okay. So, cheers.
All right, give him a nice big round of applause. I'll leave one more. Oh, all right. So next week.
Andy Lynn wants to just say
No, we're going back down.
So,
I think so.
I don't know what year it was, Dan and Monica said, hey, can you house Stephen? He's good at baseball and better baseball in the West Coast than there was in England. And so immediately we said, of course. But as the time got close to when Stephen was to arrive, I got nervous. My mothering skills had been packed away in the basement. I thought, uh-oh, gotta get those skills out, right, Kenny? So I dusted him off in preparation of Stephen, and Stephen came to our house very white. Very white. And in California, you're by the pool all the time. So we tried to brown him up a little bit. Off to high school he went, and I'm thinking at home, here's a kid, new country, new family, new high school. He really needs me. So I found out Stephen didn't need me at all. I went to an assembly, it was a volleyball game, and I thought, who's Stephen going to sit with? So I went to the assembly so that he'd have somebody to sit with, and I'm sitting there. And there's Stephen working the crowd. And he was new at this high school, so he's with the Hispanics and everybody's cool with him. The next he's with the pierced and the kind of strange ones. And the next he's, with the athletes, and he's comfortable with wherever he was. And so I sat there, and I was the only one sitting alone. So I knew then, Stephen didn't know or need me very much at all. And my next worry was baseball. He's going to go onto the baseball team. Who wants this kid from another country coming into the baseball team? They probably won't like him, or he's too good. The next thing I know, I see him in the baseball group, and they embraced him. They accepted him. They loved him. He was part of the team so fast. My next worry was grades. My gosh, I kind of whipped him into studying. So Stephen would not study. But his report card came back, and he's all A's. He didn't need me at all, which was great. Stephen taught me that he's the one kid who lived under kind of like a golden moon, or I don't know what you call it. He would say, oh, it'll work out. And it did. He needed a car. A friend of ours donated a car. He needed whatever it was that he needed. It just worked out for him. But I think part of all of this is Stephen and who Stephen is. Stephen, you are a man of grace. Stephen, you are a man of integrity. Stephen, you are a man of God. Stephen, you are a man of obedience. And Stephen, you are someone that everyone wants to be with. And the miracle of this all is that you found a mate that is exactly like you. Hannah, you are a woman of grace. Hannah, you are a woman of God. Hannah, you are a woman of obedience. And we embrace the two of you. My hand is held high in celebration of you and Stephen, of walking together with God, who blesses your union.
Hey, how about